What's up, everybody? It's your favorite host, Slammin' Sam. I hope you are in that seat and buckled in real tight. We're gonna go for another ride and smash that loud pedal here on In the Groove. What's up, everybody? We have almost made it out of the month of July. Is that unbelievable or what? But I got a guest on who wears shades just like me. I mean, I think I'm wearing shades because of him. But we're going to talk about a little NHRA racing, a little PDRA racing. We're going to talk about everything he's up to, maybe a little Strutmaster. I don't know if that gave it away, but I hope you are in those seats, buckled in real tight, and ready to smash that loud pedal here on episode 11 In the Groove podcast. I'm super excited about it, and I hope you guys are just excited as I am. What's going on, everybody? Like I said, this is episode number 11 in the Groove podcast, and I have a special guest on, a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, someone that is in this industry and doing great things and always has on a sweet pair of glasses just like these, but I don't look as good as he does in them, so I'll just let you guys see his face right now and wish him a happy birthday. It is the Monday Morning Racer. What's going on out there?
Man, I'm getting older. That's what's happening today, being my birthday, getting older here in North Carolina, coming to you from the headquarters of strutmasters.com in the showroom. Always a great place to do something live or record in. So, Sam, look, I'm doing great. How about yourself, man?
Man, first of all, I just want to say happy birthday. Let's put that out there. Happy birthday. You're not getting older. You're getting younger. In drag racing years, you go back in years is what I've been told. But, there's not much going on here. North Dakota sweated my butt off today, honestly. It was probably a 90-degree day here, but with the humidity and everything else, it was a hot day. But I did try to find my sweet and stylish glasses just like you. I had to take them off because I don't look as good as you do in them. But man, it's a great day. I wish I was at a racetrack. As you can see, I got my racetrack vibes behind me in the headquarters of Outlaw Performance ENT and our other business, Mabro Motorsports. So just another great day. But yeah, I mean, we got some time here to finally catch up, to finally talk and just talk drag racing, talking the media world. So kind of give everybody that doesn't know who you are a little background about you.
All right. Well, speaking of the birthday, I'm 32 years old today, and I have been in this media concerning motorsports and in particular drag racing for only about a year and a half. It's a story that I have gone from working on a dairy farm and getting cow dung slung in my face to now I'm on the line at NHRA drag races and interviewing drivers and team owners and going to PDRA drag races and ADRL drag races and more motorsports even beyond that. So providentially for me, the Lord has opened up some great doors and I've stepped through them. And my whole deal is I want to get the real stories out there in motorsports. I do get some footage. I do capture some races. I take a few pictures. But my thing is I want to be in the pits, talking to the drivers, talking to the team owners, and getting the stories that are unheard, that the NHRA might not get, the PDRA might not get. I want to get those stories and find some stars that are fading out, find some stars that are going to begin burning brightly, get those tales and make sure that the drag racing fan knows about those tales. That's what I'm all about.
And exactly. And I think, you and I met a couple of months ago before all this, the coronavirus kind of happened. Well, it was there, but we met at the World Door Slammers, and it was kind of like, it's the same story that I can honestly say that I have with Scott, with the limo guy. We met and it was like instant connection. Like we both, we're out there telling the same stories. We're out there trying to get that same message. And, we, like you said, you do more of the pit stuff as I do. I can take the pictures, and I'm sure you can too, but it's something about telling that story that everybody doesn't know, that everybody doesn't get to see. I think really drives that message home of like, hey, these are normal people, that still love to go wakeboarding or fishing or hunting or whatever else, but there is something that we all love, and that's smashing that loud pedal, whether it's circle track racing, whether it's drag racing, at the highest level or at the lowest level, whether it's, dirt biking, whatever it is. In motorsports, there's a common, denominator, and that's either hitting that gas, squeezing that gas, or whatever it is you may do.
Right, man, right. And in the pits, I just find that there is a gold mine of stories. For example, last year I'm at Pomona for the finals. I'm helping the Russo Fuel Funny Car team out for some extra exposure. They have a great story in and of themselves. They're a older couple that, because nitro drag racing in Australia is basically kind of outlawed or been phased out purposely, they travel from Australia to race a few races on the central part of the United States and the west coast of the United States to do nitromethane funny car drag racing. So getting their story was phenomenal. But they had an individual, Mario, who was working on their car, and his daughter works on Terry Haddock's funny car and Top Fueler, and she is like 19 and works bottom end. And I'm like, where's everybody on this story? You have father and daughter working in the nitro pits, and she's doing probably one of the hardest jobs out there on a nitro car underneath everybody and getting it done for Terry Haddock. So there's just story after story is out there. I think of Anthony Wilner. Anthony Wilner is a 16 years of age old man. He is on the Alan Perninsky Pro Stock team. He is there for every race for Alan. And he is not just a gopher. He is underneath that car. He gets dirty. At the end of the day, he is dirty, fully covered, and he works on that thing. And even at 16 years of age, he already has 3 to 4 years of motorsports experience because he was on a late model crew at the Bull Ring in his hometown in Las Vegas. I'm like, well, where is everybody on this?
And
so for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where it falls at the wayside. We had the Dakota Mod Tour, IMCA huge tour here in North Dakota that just happened, and there were some young ladies out there, and and granted, I understand how the ladies feel about that, is that they don't want to be classified as, hey, I'm out here running with the ladies, right? With the guys as a lady, don't separate us. I get that, but 16, 17 years old, and you're out there willing a mod or a sport mod, and you're running top 10 and you're qualifying in the feature in the 30-car field every weekend. Those are the stories and the future of our sport that we have to continue to tell, because yes, granted, every old timer, and nothing against the old timers out there, but they've read the stories of John Force, right? Those are our, and the Snakes and the different people that came before that really set the platform for this. But if we don't continue to tell the stories of even the Greg Andersons, the Jason Lines, this is Jason's last year. He's someone that's, his brother has a shop right down the road there in Minnesota, 8 hours away. But, it's still, if we don't continue to tell the stories of the people of today and what will be tomorrow, I think that's where we're kind of fallen at the wayside. Do you agree with that, or is that just my opinion?
I agree with that. You mentioned John Force, and we can take nothing away from John Force. The man has been on fire from Indiana to Australia, as he will say, and he has done it all in drag racing. He is arguably the greatest drag racer that has lived. But I think this year, in NHRA drag racing in particular, with JFR being out of the picture, again, I don't think that's the biggest story. I think the biggest story is, what can Alex June do with JFR out of the way? What can a Hot for Teacher Racing do with a JFR out of the way? What can what I think is literally right before our eyes a rising legend in Justin Ashley, the strutmasters.com top fueler with Davis Motorsports. What can he do with the rest of his career, and are we seeing the rest of a career and the building of a major player in Davis Motorsports right now through this time where JFR is out of the picture and now the spotlight can be on some other individuals? I think that's great for drag racing. That, yes, though a legend and though in Hall of Fames, and we will always remember that John Force is the man, well, guess what? Men always and inevitably will step aside for another man.
And I agree 100%, right? It's like I said in another episode, it's totally weird having no JFR. Like, I mean, that to me is like having no hot dogs and fireworks on the 4th of July, right? I mean, it's what we grew up. You're 30, you're 32 now today. I'm 29. So this is what we grew up seeing. This is what we're accustomed to. So with any change or any life events that happen, it does take a while to adapt to. But I think it will shine light on a few more up-and-coming stars, or even not even up-and-coming stars, some people that were kind of put on the back burner where they were in the lane and it was like, well, they're racing John Force, and let's talk about John a lot more. So, I mean, I think that is one of them that's really, you know, that's a subject that you and I could talk about. I'm pretty sure we should just probably plan like a flight or something and go somewhere for 24 hours and talk about that, because that's just one of those things where it's, I think, you know, it's not tread lightly, but it's happening right before our eyes. So how do we take it? And I think there's a lot of controversy, a lot of things said that are not said, that, you know, you don't want to step on your toes or anything like that. But I really do believe that we have a lot of future up and coming people. I think, you know, in a few, we'll talk about some things with PDRA. I think there's a few people in that particular group that could step up and maybe fill those shoes, you know, if the funding and different things were there. But one thing we would like to do is always give back to our sponsors, the people that promote and support us. Mad Bro Motorsports, located North Hill, Minot, North Dakota, the leading performance and parts store. If there's anything you need for your hot rod, give Slam and Sam and the gang a call. 701-720-7996. Again, that is Mad Bro Motorsports. 701-720-7996.
On the way to being free.
Thank you, Mad Bro Motorsports, for all that you guys do for us here at Outlaw Performance ENT, especially in the Groove podcast. If there's anything you guys need, race car, performance parts, custom fire suits, anything like that, please check us out, and we will be happy. Myself and the gang will be happy to take care of you guys. But back at it, like I said, PDRA. I've seen you. You've been there. I would really like to get down there, but... Oh, nice hat. Look at you, even sporting the hat there. But what can you say is kind of different from going from the NHRA side to the PDRA side?
Well, I'll try to give you a perspective on several different angles. So a perspective as far as a fan, media, and also then as a racer. So, you know, I did junior dragsters, and I've been around racing for a while, so I think I can give just a little bit of perspective from a racer. And to that, I would say that the PDRA is one of the best-ran organizations I have ever laid my eyes on. They are efficient. I think that's the best way I can put it. They are efficient with how they handle and conduct themselves. And they do not mind bending a schedule. They do not mind tweaking this or that if it's going to benefit the racer. And that's why I think they live up to their name, Professional Drag Racers Association. They are about the racer. They are racers, you know, there for other racers. A great example, I think, would be their marketing director, Will Smith. He's from Alabama. He sports this great mullet Well, he drives a fuel dragster for Harada Motorsports, most time in the NHRA at divisional meets and at national meets. But here he is, a racer, as a marketing director for a group that is about the racer. And that's a prime example of what the PDRA is like. Their ownership, I think, really waves the banner on what they're all about. Tommy Franklin drives one of the premier pro nitrous pro mods, and he owns a track in Virginia Motorsports Park, and he owns the PDRA. So when you go race the PDRA, you're not talking to a board member who has ever stepped in a car or taken it down the strip. You're talking about someone that eats, lives, and breathes drag racing. He knows what you're talking about. He knows what you are experiencing. As a fan, man, what can you say? Door slammers are on a rise, and some of the best door slammers right now are racing in the PDRA. I mean, Chris Reaney, you have Jim Halsey, you have Tommy Franklin, you have Melanie Salemi, you have the Carusos, you have just a cornucopia of great door slammer drivers with classes that I think elevate the particular power adders the way they're doing it, and allows for more cars to come out having Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost. And then you have one of my favorite classes of all time. They call it Extreme Pro Stock, but Mountain Motor. That's what they are. They're Mountain Motors. I love Mountain Motor Pro Stock. And they have that there at the PDRA. So as a fan, if you love door cars, I think the PDRA is the place to go and experience some great door cars and experience and interact with some interesting characters in drag racing that have maybe just a little bit more edge than what you're possibly seeing right now with NHRA counterparts. As media, I would say concerning the PDRA, there is far less red tape when it concerning the NHRA. Look, to get media credentials with the PDRA, sure, you've got to be legit, and they need to see a body of work, but it's as simple as sending an email and them getting back to you via email, and they do it in a prompt manner and telling you, hey, here's the agreement, read the agreement, sign the agreement. If you're good with that, make sure you put our banners and logos on your stuff. We're good. Do what you need to as a media individual. So I think the PDRA, it's professional. They live up to the first letter in their name as an association. They definitely are professionals.
Yeah, definitely. And you go down the list, like you said, your Melanie and your Plachucci. I always mess up his name. Placino. I always want to say Platucci. I don't know why. But Placinos, and then you have, Voss and Franklin's, Strickland. So I mean you have that level. And that's another thing. We have another, partner, the limo guy, and he has the real pro stock, right? He wants to let people know that, hey, this is the real deal. This is, your real top-notch racing. And from what I can see, and I've never been to one. I would definitely love to make it down there. So I know you and I have talked about that, and I've talked with a couple other people. But definitely, they're very thankful for having the media there to help them tell their stories, to give them that little bit of light, because there's so much in, you scroll through Facebook and NHRA, top this, top that. And it's like, what about these people, just like the Caruso family, that are going out and I don't mean to bring this up, but going out and banging the cars up, and, Camry, loves to drive. You can talk to her about driving anything. As long as it has a steering wheel, well, she said she'd get behind a Harley too. So, I mean, it's just in her. So it's just one of those things when you continue to look down it and look and see, it's like, okay, you have all these people that enjoy racing, enjoy it so much that they want to continue. And I think if we as media, that was me talking as a fan, we as media, I think it is our obligation to help them and maybe show that light to another sponsor. Like you yourself, you're with Strutmasters, and you could bring that up, but it may help a team that doesn't have all the funding there to go full-fledged NHRA racing right now, to go, and be with the top dogs, as they want to call it. But it may help them, someone get into that position of driving. Or am I wrong? I mean, am I wrong for saying that it's kind of our obligation to help them get to that next step too?
Well, I think our obligation as media, and I look at it this way, personally, my obligation in what I'm a racer is, look, if I can get to talk to a John Force, fine, I want to talk to a John Force. But I actually would rather talk to a Joe Morrison who just got his Top Fuel license. I actually would. I think those stories, honestly, are a bit more compelling. And I think it's an obligation of media to say, here is great drag racing happening in the PDRA. Here are great characters in the PDRA with like Jay Cox or a Chris Reaney, who was on the plane that landed in the Hudson, apparently, that Sully was flying. There's just great stories out there. You have Amber Franklin, who's now stepped into top dragster, if I remember correctly, out of the junior dragster ranks. Who's she going to be in the Franklin family and create possibly a dynasty? Maybe she's the next owner of the PDRA, for all we know. I think there's great stories, and I think we have an obligation to let drag racing fans know that there is more in drag racing than just the NHRA. It is rich and it is vibrant. There is more than the NHRA, and there is more than Street Outlaws.
Oh, for sure. And that's just like, okay, perfect. You talked about it, so here we go. It's the same situation as when circle track drivers, myself, when I go down there, they're like, Sam, you're a drag racer. You don't know what you're talking about. Drag racers, all you guys do is go in a straight line. You get in one of those funny things that make a lot of power, and I'm like, dude, do you know what it takes to get there? And they're like, yeah, you just go and buy a car and you spend $1 million. And I'm like, no. But if you ask a diehard drag racer that same question about circle track, he's going to say the same thing, right? And I think it bridges. I think it's our job, and that's one thing about In the Groove, is I talk drag racing and I talk, circle track, but it bridges that gap. But like you said, it's those, my favorite driver, one of my favorite drivers, Antron Brown, right? Very charismatic guy, very energetic, just like a John Force. But tell the stories of, the Carusos, and I'm going to bring them up again. Hopefully Camry doesn't get too mad about me. But you tell those stories like them of family history of driving. Like, what is she going to do next, right? Who knows what Camry Caruso is going to do next? I mean, like you said, she can be an owner of something. She could be whatever it may be. But at the same point, there's history there, right? Talk about her, even her brother used to drive a junior dragster, and there's just that storyline that will forever continue as long as we continue to tell the stories of not just your top dog, and tell the stories of the juniors. Perfect example of that, really quick, is like this past weekend. I went to our local circle track, and the Slingshots, those are the junior class pretty much. They were running this weekend, and for me, it's like, okay, how do I give back to those kids? How do I make those kids feel like they are the most important people on the surface right now? And so we gave them all a couple of bucks to put in their pocket or to put back in the race car, some gloves, some oil, and it just gives back. And then you give back to the older kid, the older kids, the adults that are also driving, and it continues to tell that thankful story of, hey, we appreciate you guys, and without you guys, there is no racing.
Right. Look, there are stories that must be told, they need to be told, then they are not following the biggest name people. It's just that simple. And sometimes I think they are better. I do. I really believe they're better stories. And also, I just like asking the things that I feel like are not being asked. Example, this hasn't been on an interview with me, but I'm talking with John Strickland, who drives one of the Galot Motorsports Pro mods, the kind of orange and green and black one. That one, he drives that one opposed to the orange, black, and red one. And I asked John, John, what's Galot? I've never heard anybody say exactly what Galot means or is. And Galot stands for get a load of this or get a load of that. They had that's what it means, and it goes back to a concrete company. So I'm like, well, that makes sense. Get a load of this or get a load of that. Galot. And that's what they've been running with. So it's get a load of this motorsports. And they are getting a lot of wins here right now and obviously performing well and invested a lot in motorsports with like Galot Motorsports Park. Get a load of this Motorsports Park with, mud running and tractor pulling and drag racing. So I'm like, wow, that makes sense. And I like to ask those questions. You mentioned Antron. Sam, do you know what his favorite ice cream is?
No, but I know he loves, what are they? What kind of cookies are they? Sugar, not the peanut butter cookies. I know he loves those because he goes, peanut butter.
So, Antron Brown's favorite ice cream flavor is butter pecan.
I could see that. I mean, seriously. So I first met Antron. We were in Vegas one year, and then we went to Pomona, or vice versa. I forget. And I got to meet him both times, and he's like, he recognized me. So then I went to PRI one year, and I had on my Mad Bro stuff, and he goes, I remember you because I know that logo because you're the only one that, and I was like, all right. So I asked him a question, and he goes, yep, I do remember you. Funny story about him. My aunt had made peanut butter cookies. I had some. I was eating one, and he goes, what are those? And I was like, peanut butter cookies. And he goes, dude, those are my favorite. So I give him a couple, and there's a video of him. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's another time, but he's eating. He warms up some peanut butter cookies, and he pulls them out, and he's like, peanut butter. So, I mean, it's weird things just like that, right? It's weird things like that. But since you were talking about food, I'm going to bring up one of our sponsors who has the best burritos here in town. I mean, I don't even know how to begin to tell you guys this, but El Azteca, for sure, if you guys haven't checked them out, you need to. El Azteca Mexican food located here in Minot, North Dakota on the north side. If you want the best and authentic Mexican food located in Minot, North Dakota, please check out the gang up at El Azteca Mexican Food located right near the Minot International Airport. Go up there, try one of the burritos, and I guarantee you will not leave hungry. The best and authentic Mexican food here in Minot, North Dakota. Again, that is El Azteca for all your dine-in and dine-out needs. So I don't know about you, but I am a huge Mexican food. Being originally from California, I mean, it's just one of those things. El Azteca, I'm telling you, if you ever come to North Dakota, I don't know why you would, but if you ever do come down to North Dakota, we will go to El Azteca. If you're Mexican food, I don't know if you like that.
Look, man, I am a equal opportunist eater. So I plan on in the future, actually, so a part of like when I do my YouTube videos, that is the NHRA in review, and I actually review what happens at national events, and I try to always give a insider's look of me weaving in and out of the pits and share stories that the NHRA might not present on their main broadcast. I always give fan tips, and part of my fan tips is where to eat when you're at the race. So, like, for example, in Brownsburg, Indiana, Flapjacks. Oh, great breakfast there in Brownsburg, Indiana. But, yeah, man, look, I love Mexican food. Definitely would do Mexican food. Love burritos. And
see, and that's what I was going to ask. Are you a burrito or taco kind of guy?
Well, it depends on the day. I love tacos. I love burritos. When I'm not doing keto, because I have been doing keto for about 3 or 4 months and lost a lot of weight. I went from like 270 down to 235. So I've been able to lose a good bit of weight by doing keto. So it's definitely helped me out. But when I'm deciding to have a cheat day, chimichangas. I love chimichangas. So that's my go-to dish, definitely.
You can definitely hear the difference. Where you're at in North Carolina. I'm from California, now living in North Dakota. We say chimichangas. And you guys say chimichanga. So, it's just funny to see, the difference.
Tomato.
Right? But, what's kind of your plan now? I know coronavirus has kind of messed everything up, right? You've been doing some traveling and everything like that. What's kind of your plan now? I know I was supposed to go to Denver, leave Denver, kind of take a week-long vacation in Red Lodge, Montana, leave there and go to Minneapolis, but seeing that both of those events aren't going on, how has this changed everything that you've been doing? How has this, put different blockers and different, hiccups in your racing schedule?
Right. So for me, honestly, 2020 has been a year of growth, rapid growth, honestly. And I'm probably not the best person to get out of in an interview, 2020, woe is me, because it's actually been very good. Yes, it's terrible that this pandemic is going on, but personally, for me, it's actually been a rewarding year. After the World Door Slammer Nationals was at Gainesville got canceled. I'm actually glad it got canceled. I was suffering from gout on a motor coach in Gainesville, so I was glad I got out of that one and didn't have to walk all weekend because I couldn't walk. Go back home at that time in New York, outside of Rochester, New York, and I was like, what am I going to do? I need content. There's no racing. Everything's getting shut down. And it worked out where I was able to set up a lot of interviews over Zoom and was able to interview people like Ricky Smith, Scotty Polachek, Adam Lambert with Precision Racing Suspension. You name it, a broad range of people. And I was able to interview them. And then in the midst of this pandemic, I make a move. I moved from New York back home to my home in South Carolina, spend about 2 weeks with my folks, and I moved then to Roxborough, North Carolina, which is where strutmasters.com is headquartered, and I work full-time at strutmasters.com. And Chip Lofton is generous enough that he saw potential in me, and he said, hey, I want you to cover my cars, and while you cover my cars, I'll pay you to be you. Just be the Monday morning racer. And I'm like, sounds like a good deal to me. So I took him up on that offer. And honestly, man, once I got down here into North Carolina and into South Carolina, I have not missed really a beat.
Yeah.
There's almost been a race every weekend.
For sure.
Whether that's been a drag race or on my YouTube channel, you can go see there at Monday Morning Racer. I'll go film a dirt car race. I'll film at a stock car race. I'll film drifting. I'll film autocross events. So whatever in the world of motorsports is my aim and goal, but definitely a niche with drag racing, and providentially just happened to be in the area which had one of the first drag races to occur after the major shutdowns of pretty much every state, and that was Galat Motorsports Park with the PDRA, and then Darlington, and then some local drag races. So been able to get out and experience as far as like the ADRL in Texas, and really the only difference has been is you got to wear a mask while you're on a plane. That's about it. So it's almost been rather normal for me, except, wow, the airport is really empty. There's nobody here. Or you're at the track, and it is a sad thing to see and experience that there's not as many fans or no fans.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I haven't really traveled much since this has all happened. So I'm kind of, from a lot of the pictures I've seen, I'm kind of itching to get to the airport. Because I'm like, now, do I really need to be there 2 hours? I'm the guy that does not like sitting in the airport at all. But now, do I really need to be there, 2 hours early? And that's what's good about this is a lot of people have that poor me, story of 2020. And there's always two sides of it. There's the side where and for myself, I saw a very huge spike there, and then it kind of plateaued because I was in a state of, okay, what's going on? What's happening? Why am I not going to races? Why is nothing going on? But I had to do a little self-reflection and say, hey, it's not just you, right? It's the whole world. Like, everybody's going through this right now. It's not just you. So I think that's really cool that you do have that story where you can say, you know what, hey, I made 2 moves after this, and I potentially, and not potentially, you got a job with Strutmasters working there full time in the middle of a pandemic with a racing organization. I mean, that just shows hats off to them with, being able to sustain that and giving you the opportunity to still be who you are. I mean, I think that's really huge. To still give you like, hey, we know you are who you are before you joined us. We don't want you to stop doing that. If anything, continue to do it. But, when it's time to work on this, it's time to work on this. And then when you have your stuff, you have your stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right. And I look, it's huge for someone to say, I want you to do what you do as you.
Yeah.
Don't change it. You don't have to tweak it. Just be you. For example, we're heading to Indy, and we're with Chip Lofton and the few other people that work at Strutmasters, and we're there in the motel, and we're getting ready to go, and he tells the other guy who is going to take some photos and do a magazine-style article on some of the teams for Strutmasters.com. He's like, oh, here's your Strutmasters hat. You need to wear that. Lee doesn't need it. He has his own persona. He wears the hat that he wants to. So even down to my hat, it's like, be who you are and do that. And it is an immense blessing to be able to get my sea legs, as it were, in the media world and in the drag racing and motorsports world, and just know that someone's supporting me, someone's got my back, and I can be me, and I'm not having to switch things up. It's such a blessing, man.
Yeah, and it's kind of unheard of, right? I mean, I'm in all reality, right? You go and work for a big time, company or anything. Hey, you're in our rules, you're in our court. Not necessarily saying that all big companies are like that, but to still have the flexibility to still be the Monday morning racer. And I think that's, like you said, that's awesome. You said you do cover some circle track, some dirt stuff. What all have you gotten into there?
Yeah, so coming back into the Southeast, it can be challenging in the Southeast to find a diverse palette of motorsports. New York actually was a great place to start to have a motorsports channel because tractor pulling is big in New York. Mud racing is big in New York. Snowmobile racing, you can actually do it in New York, but you can't do it in the Southeast. Southeast is definitely asphalt stock car centric.
Yep.
And what has been great is since getting here, I've been able to find some of the niche in the market. So Carolina Speedway in Gastonia, North Carolina, they know it as the action track. It's almost in South Carolina, right on the border, basically. They had come into town, one of the few sprint car tours that races in the Carolinas. It's the Carolina Sprint Car Tour, or Sprint Tour, and was able to go catch some 310s rocking around Carolina Speedway. And, man, I love sprint cars, and just haven't been able to see a lot of them in my life in person because I grew up in the Southeast. And at one time, the Southeast was just like completely void of sprint cars. It was all a Midwest and central part of the nation type thing, or in the Northeast. But here you have the Carolina Sprint Tour, and I was so excited to get these guys on camera. And I don't care how many views it gets. It's sprint cars in the South.
If
Yeah.
you ever want to see a lot of sprint cars, if you want to get into one, a wingless sprint, anything, I've got some friends that have got sprint cars, and a lot of guys in this area, the wingless sprints is definitely taken off a little bit more. But if you ever want to get into it, I'm just saying, you come up to North Dakota, we may be able to get you into a seat of one too. I I want to drive one. I want to drive a hobby stock and an IMCA hobby stock and a late model and a sprint car. I don't want to own one. If someone out there wants a crazy guy that's not willing, that's willing to get behind of a car, I've always said it. Top fuel car, any of the guys on Street Outlaws or anything like that, I'll get behind any of their cars. I'm not afraid to. I mean, I'm a driver myself. I started out in an 87 Fox Body Mustang, all Ford because everybody's going LS base. So I keep it for, I actually want to get a Nova or a Camaro and put a big block Ford in it just to kind of, change it up a little bit. But
yeah.
like you said, sprint cars, the late model, Donnie Schatz, he is from this area. Like Schatz Restaurant, Truck Stop is his folks' place. He's from this area. So to have him come in sometimes and to run a sprint car, to have him, run a late model. Ricky Thornton Jr. was here on the tour. So, I mean, North Dakota, surprisingly, when it comes to circle track racing, we do bring some high class names in that, you don't always get to see. And like you said, you don't always get to see down in South Carolina. So it is pretty cool to have that other avenue for me right now. And I am doing a lot more videos and interviews with guys and girls in that platform, in the IMCA platform. But I also think it is very, very cool, to see your energy about that, because I think a lot of guys in our area take it for granted because we have it here in our backyard all the time.
Right. You go across the nation, and each particular spot in our nation has that motorsport that really dominates the headlines. Again, here in the Southeast, asphalt late models, man, that's like the top form of racing on the local level. Is you have a bad fast asphalt late model that can go to Greenville Pickens and win, or go down to now what will be defunct Myrtle Beach and win, or go to Martinsville or Bristol and win in a late model. But you go to some parts of Florida, and it's not just circle track racing; it's figure eight racing. Well, you go out west, it might be off road. You go in the Midwest, they're racing dirt every night. I mean, it never stops. I mean, you can go from Oklahoma all the way to Minnesota and race every night if you want to, and it's all dirt. Like asphalt, that's to get to the track. That's not for the track.
Oh yeah, there's many shirts that I've seen out here. Sam, read this, and it's asphalt's for driving, dirt's for racing. Right. I'm like, geez. But I mean that does definitely show the difference in all type of racing here. I mean, and that's great, is that you go to one side and it's asphalt. You come, like you said, from Oklahoma, from Texas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, all the way up to BFE where I live of North Dakota. I mean, it's dirt. It's ground pound, and and it's just awesome to really see. And I would like to travel, to the East Coast and see what it's really like there, because you could probably, I think a asphalt guy could learn a lot from a dirt track guy, as is a dirt track guy can learn a lot from an asphalt guy.
Right. Well, something I love about the aspect of dirt in particular is dirt changes around the nation. Not just the type of racing, but the literal dirt they're racing on. Look, you take a guy out of the Northeast and you put him on the red clay that's down here in the South, he might look like he's never drove before.
Oh yeah.
And vice versa. It completely reacts different to rubber, water, and the conditions that the climate and the weather of that day is going to present. So, that's something even more than just asphalt, because though you can get regional asphalts, asphalt really has become more homogenized over time than it was, let's say, back in the 60s and 70s. It used to be, you go somewhere like Darlington and the asphalt there was distinctly different than the asphalt than they might have in another part of the country. But it's become more similar throughout the country. So dirt still presents a case of changing conditions with the soil throughout the nation that people are dealing with, and that clay from one part of the country to the other part of the country is different. So I love that aspect of dirt as well.
For sure. And that's what makes it great, right? You bring a guy, like we had guys up here from Colorado, and they're like, what, a lot of guys like dry slick. Some guys like, heavy wet track. Some guys like a medium of both. And I think taking a racer from Arizona, California, Iowa, Wisconsin, I'm trying to think of all the states that were here, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. I think taking people to that and bringing them and giving them 6 nights of racing. You started, let's see, Friday night was in Fargo, Saturday night was in Jamestown, Sunday here in Minot at the Playground of Power. Monday night was in Williston at the Williston Basin Speedway. Tuesday night was in Dickinson at the Dakota track. And then the last night was in Mandan for their. So you take drivers, different conditions, different tracks, different sizes of tracks every night, and throw them a challenge. Say, here you go. Here's your hot laps. There you go. Here's your heat race, and then your A main. Like, you give drivers that chance every night to change things up and see how you can set up a car, right? It really challenges your pit crew, your knowledge of the track. Some guys, have 2 or 3 pit guys. Some guys, it's their uncle, brother, and cousin, or it's just them, or it's the son, the dad and the son, or grandpa and dad, and dad. So it gives a lot of flexibility, and to see that caliber of racing going on here, way up here again in North Dakota, and people traveling to do that just shows how much people truly do care, and the stint that people would go, especially this year, with the limited of racing that they've been able to do. So,
another aspect of dirt track racing that I do want to mention that I love is I really feel like it's one of the last form of motorsports that the professional ranks, such as, let's say, a World of Outlaws sprint car tour, they still go to what is a local track and race against the local stars. And the local stars, because they know the track so well, can still beat the professionals.
Yeah, can still compete.
Right. You don't see that in NASCAR. You don't see that in NHRA right now. You don't see it even with PDRA. You don't see it.
So this is my thing. I've thought about doing it with drag racing at the local level, at the small level, is creating that tour. Creating, hey, we're going to start on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. Get these tracks, right? So we're going to race Wednesday night. We're going to race Thursday night, Friday night, or let's just say Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. So 4 nights. And you're going to put miles on. And, one track can be totally different prepped from another track. And I think if in the off season, if you could hit 4 or 5 tracks at the NHRA level, the PDRA level, IHRA, and I think if you can put together something like that and make it an all-star race, right? We have the countdown. We have 16 weeks, of racing and everything else. Make a condensed 4-day schedule with tracks that are maybe, a couple of thousands miles away where they can get there and say, hey, we're doing 5 days of back-to-back racing, and we'll crown a champion. And I think that would be a cool idea to help promote the sport, but then help, get Alex in a car, get him in a pro stock car, get him in, a top fuel, put him back in whatever, and let him drive against local racers. I mean, I think that would be something that possibly maybe would be fun. Give these local guys a chance to compete against their idols, right? You never know what can come of that. You never know what guy, that's on his bucket list, and it may never happen unless he gets to an NHRA sanctioned race, and he's considered a filler. So I think that there's a lot left in it. I think like I said, you and I could talk about a lot of different opportunities that are there for different growth, and maybe that's something that you and I should, start a debate podcast or something on, and who knows, right? Who knows what it can all become. But we're gonna take a little break to another sponsor, but then after that, I'm gonna bring you into the hot round. So I really hope you are ready for that. What's up, everybody? I'm going to tell you the easiest way to start your podcast right now. It's called Anchor. Go over, download the Anchor app, get on their site, and start your podcast today. You don't have to have any listenership already. You can start from scratch. It's going to distribute all of your podcasts to the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Has a creative tool. You can edit from your computer or your phone if you're on the go. It's just really the easiest way to start your podcast. So if you haven't done it already, go over and download the Anchor app and get started on your podcast today. All right, so here we go. We are going to start the Raise Energy. We're going to bring the energy now. If you need any, hey, there you go. Hey, if you need any Raise Energy to, get you through the weekend or whatever, let me know. I had to switch up the glasses, but
they look good, man. They look good. Now, if we were doing glasses, wardrobe changes there, you should have told me. I could have been filing them out through every change.
Oh man, I mean, if you've got them, we definitely like to see. But this is the zero sugar. This is the Baja Lime. I'm not a pop drinker, but from what I've been told from other people, it does taste just like the Baja drink there at Taco Bell. If you are a Taco Bell goer, I am not. Just not good for the guy. But here we go. Rapid fire questions. Whatever comes to mind, you got to answer. Are you ready? You signed up for this?
Do it.
All right, here we go.
Do it.
First question. Are you an odd or even kind of guy?
Odd.
Odd numbers. Why? I have to ask why, because I'm an even guy.
I just, I like odd things, period. If it's odd, if it's different, if it's strange. I mean, I'm the guy out here getting the stories that no one else is getting. So odd. Give me odd.
All right, I like that. I like that. All right. Second question. If there is any car that you could take and make a pass in right now, what car is it?
Oh, it's Top Fuel Dragster, definitely.
And why? Which car?
Which car?
You have to pick a car. You have to tell us why it's that car too.
Well, right now I would say it would have to be Justin Ashley's Top Fuel Dragster for strutmasters.com. Not just because he's sponsored by Strutmasters, but because Justin is probably the driver out there that I probably have the best relationship with, and I talked to him about his run, his reaction time, what did the car feel like, and it would be stellar to have something within myself to be able to compute and process what he is saying after a run. So I would say it'd have to be, and it's a canopy car. I'd love to feel what it's like underneath that canopy, and it makes me think back of 1986 and Don Garlits and Swamp Rat 31, I believe it was, and it just gives that feeling. If I had one pass, I would want it definitely to be a canopy car. I'd like to know it being wrenched by Davis Motorsports and that group and that gang, and then again have the material within me to say, oh, I know a little bit about what you're talking about.
All right, perfect. And and I was going to ask this question, but we're just going to talk about it. A lot of people don't know that you are a pastor also. So
yes. So, so right now I'm not at a church, pastoring, because, what I'm doing now, the door that God has opened and I have decided to step through, it's not really conducive of being faithful to a particular flock. But yeah, I've been in the ministry since I was 16 years of age. I'm 32 today. And that's many, many years in ministry. And ministry does look different these days. I'll pray with the drivers that I interact with, and I definitely think in the world of motorsports, there's plenty of people who need to know the Lord as their Savior. If you're out there listening and you disagree with me, hey, no problem. You're free to disagree with me. I still love you, and most importantly, God does too.
And that's the biggest thing right now. And see, you're just throwing those avenues in there. That's the biggest thing right now. Even if you disagree with someone, I'm going to take this moment to say this. Even if you disagree with someone and your beliefs are different than their beliefs, it is okay. It is okay for you to believe in something that not everyone does. And I think that's the biggest thing is everyone's trying to shove their opinion and their, entitlement down everyone's throat. And it's like, dude, ma'am, sir, lady, whatever you want to be called, that's your opinion. And the best thing about where we live in the United States of America, I have my opinion too. And you can't get mad at me for what I believe in or what you believe in. And, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I probably, but okay, another question for you, because I can go on a rant about that, but I won't do it. What is your favorite joke?
Ooh, favorite joke. Now, see, that one is tough for me to answer in a rapid fire situation because I'm not much of a person like, knock, knock, who's there? I'm not that individual. It's more like, in stream of conversation and, things like that.
So I'll give you a pass since you can't answer it. I mean,
I will say this. I'll give you this to try to hone in on your joke. So there is a stand-up by Sinbad. We haven't seen Sinbad in a while, but he was, in his days of doing stand-up comedy.
Last time I saw Sinbad, I was in the airport at Vegas. I was running late because I decided to go to In-N-Out before I dropped my rental car off. I'm running late.
That's not a bad life decision. I mean,
right? I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get In-N-Out till the next time I come to California. So I ran to In-N-Out. Line was long, of course. I'm running through the airport, and I knew one of the TSA agents. So I'm like, hey, I'm running late. And they're like, oh, we're not busy, So I'm like, okay. And I got one of these, and I'm like, yes. And I'm walking, through the, quick security as Sinbad's walking out, and I'm like, hey, and he, turns and waves, and he just keeps going. And I'm like, pretty cool. Random fact there.
Pretty cool. Random, yeah. Hey, those interactions are great. So, yeah. He's doing stand-up. One thing that I remember is I laugh at it every time, and I just thought it was so funny is he's kind of relating the story of when going off to college, and he gets to college, he's writing letters back to his dad, and he's like, they're long letters, and hey Dad, I'm doing great, and doing this at school, and eventually they whittle down to the point where the son writes, no fun. And the dad replies back, too bad, so sad, your dad.
There you go. You got me to laugh. Good joke. You got me to laugh. All right. This one may get you. What song represents your childhood?
What song represents your childhood? Oh, wow.
What's that song that, digs back to childhood?
So you mean that I remember most from childhood, or really kind of explains my childhood?
Yeah, if there was a song that you were like, that's me.
Okay. Oh wow. Honestly, of my childhood, I know this one's going to sound strange, probably, but it would be Charlie Daniels' Stroker Ace, because as a child. I mean, dude, as a little kid, I would watch 1986, 1988, and 1989 Diamond P VHS NHRA year in review over and over and over. And I'm like pulling for Mark Oswald to to beat Kenny Bernstein, not realizing that this thing is taped and not live, and I've got my fan favorites, and don't know how many times I watched the Moonshot by Garlits at Englishtown and pulling for Bob Glidden, pulling those levers in that Linko in about the only in car of the time. And then, I would take my racing champion cars. I had like a full set of racing champion NASCARs, and I would do literally like 500 lap races on my desk. And I had the track laid out with pits, and I would do full pit stops, and I had little billboards around the track, and I would announce it and make race car sounds. And I would say Charlie Daniels Stroker Ace, because I wanted to be in racing. I wanted to race. I mean, my dream, and praise the Lord, I'm closer to it than I ever have been doing what I'm doing, and I'm still going to chase it, and I'm more tenacious after it than I ever have been. But I wanted to be the first guy to win a championship in funny car, Top Fuel, and Pro Stock. No one's done that. No one's made that transition. No one's made that jump. And
I think there's a few racers that can make that happen.
Yes, there are. And honestly, I hope they get out there and they do it. I want to see someone do it. No one's done it. And because, those three classes are the principal historical NHRA pro classes.
All right.
It would be cool to see someone get that trifecta.
All right. One final question for you here. If you could tell the world, and this is kind of touchy with the world right now, if you could tell the world something to be prepared for, or to just give a heads up, if you could, see the future and everything in 10 years, what would your advice be to the world?
Let me make sure. Are we talking about motorsport centric, or do you want just in general?
Hey, first, this is the rapid fire round. First thing that comes to mind. Hey, and that's one thing I want to let you know. There's no right or wrong answer. There's nothing that you can't say on this podcast, at all. I mean, whatever you would tell the world, if you had, that 30 seconds or whatever, and you'd say, hey, in 10 years, I want you guys to be prepared for this, or this is what it's going to be like. So what would that be?
Right. Be prepared that your favorite cereal will be killed off.
Repeat that?
That's it. Be prepared that your favorite cereal will be killed off. Sorry.
So you're telling me right now, there's going to be no more Lucky Charms and no more Honey Nut Cheerios.
Now, Honey Nut Cheerios is debatable. Lucky Charms, they're probably going to run their course.
No, dude, no. So you're telling me no Lucky Charms, no Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but maybe Honey Nut Cheerios.
Maybe Honey Nut Cheerios.
I can live with
my favorite is like a waffle something when I was a kid. Gone. It's gone. And look, let me say about being killed off, I do also mean they changed the recipe. They did that with Cookie Crisp. Cookie Crisp is not what it was when I was a kid. They changed something, and I'm still upset about it. Man.
Here you go. Screen's on you. Just tell the world right now. Just
look. I think that's Post, I believe, or General Mills, or whoever it was. Whoever on a board decided to change the recipe to Cookie Crisp. You are a low, dirty, vile individual. I just want you to know. You wrecked a portion of my breakfast in my childhood.
Oh, man, the Monday Morning Racer sets the tone right there. You mess with this cereal, that's the man's breakfast, and you can't mess with, like I'm telling you right now, if someone messes with Lucky Charms, Honey Nut Cheerios, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or even Frosted Flakes for all that, you mess with those, whoa. But I still got Pop-Tarts and Honey Buns, but...
I'm upset they changed the look of the tiger. You shouldn't have even done that. He was great, and they're great. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Thank you. I like I said, I know where we could go with all this, but the Monday Morning Racer here on In the Groove Podcast, episode 11. Is there anyone you want to thank for getting you to where you're at today? Anyone who has, been a great marketing partner for you? I know Strut Masters and everything like that, but just if there's anyone you want to thank before, we kind of close it up here.
Yeah. Well, man, look, so this is one of the first opportunities I've had of someone really interviewing me. I'm usually the guy doing the interviews, so I thank you for the opportunity to come on, share a little bit of my story, talk motorsports, and talk about my favorite cereal and its recipe being changed. So
That's
I,
classic. That I don't think anyone has gone on a rant
yeah,
about
yeah,
cereal like that. I
yeah,
like it.
yeah, yeah. I poured my heart out, man. They
Hey,
changed the recipe.
I'm a lost man.
Yes,
Nothing's the
yes,
same. I'm
yes.
telling you right now, I am probably going to use that as a like trailer right now to,
Do it.
give out the podcast because I mean
Do it.
anything about a guy and his cereal. So, yeah, that's
Hey,
awesome.
yeah. Don't mess with a guy in his cereal. Do not. Do not. So, yeah, there are a few names, and they are names. I've got some partners that I could mention beyond Strutmasters, and I've already mentioned Chip Lofton. Yes, thank you, Chip. But there certainly are some individuals that I have to thank, and it kind of all started, this path to where I've got with an individual by the name of Sal Marino. Sal Marino is the guy who works on the right cylinder head on the New Englander funny car in NHRA drag racing. And I noticed one day that he liked one of my posts in a drag racing group. And I noticed he had the team shirt on and the funny car was in the background. And I just did my thing. I'm like, hey, man, what do you do on the team? I see you got the team shirt, the cars in behind, cars behind you. What do you do? And he explained his position. I said, look, man, I plan on being at the New England Nationals. And when I get there, I'm going to come and interview you because no one interviews crew members. I will. And I think they have great stories. So I found Sal, interviewed him and his brother. His brother works on the team and mixes the fuel. Well, by meeting Sal, that got me to know the car owner a little bit, Paul Weiss. And that got me to know the driver a little bit, Paul Smith, the son of Mike Smith, the son of Paul Smith. And I later bumped into Mike Smith when he was driving his Nostalgia funny car at Empire Dragway. Well, it comes to Reading, Pennsylvania for the NHRA National meet there. And Paul Weiss is there. The New Englander is there. And I go up to Paul. I'm like, Paul, look, I'm here tomorrow because this was Friday. I'm here tomorrow. Let me help your team with social media. You need some help with social media. Let me help you. He's like, well, how much do you charge? I said, I'll volunteer. He's like, I'd be stupid not to let you. I'm like, yes, you would. So the next day, I did social media and some promotional materials for the New Englander funny car. And that got me to the line. And I was able to record, and I did this undercover video. And that just, because of what Sal did, by just letting me interview him and me asking him, because what Paul let me do, that later led on to Mike Smith, the driver, who also tunes on other funny cars. I called him. I said, look, Mike, I'm going to be at Charlotte. Is there another team I can help out? And he's like, yeah, call Dave Richards of Paul Richards Racing and see if he'll let you hang with the team and do what you did. And Dave was like, sure, yeah, we'll let you do that. And guess what? That weekend, they were sponsored by strutmasters.com. And I got to meet Chip without even knowing that I met him. Goes on later to Pomona. And at Pomona, I talk with Chip after interviewing Justin Ashley, and I have no partnership with him whatsoever. He's like, yeah, thank you, blah, blah, blah. We're chit-chat. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I do see him tomorrow. I'm waiting in line to give a thank you card to Ron Capps. He gave me a few interviews, and I wanted to say thank you for that. And I'm like, hey, Chip. Hey, Lee. Good morning. Good morning. And he stops. And he looks back, and he's got that thinking look. Something's rolling around in his mind. He comes back to me, and he says, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I explained to him what I was doing with the Russo Fuel Funny Car and just helping out any other little small team, getting what I could. And he told me, hey, go over to Terry Haddock's crew and get you a team jersey, and you're going to cover my cars this weekend. I said, yes, sir. Didn't discuss money, didn't discuss what the future would be, but I had an opportunity right there to cover a Top Fuel car with his name on it, a funny car with his name on it, and a Pro Stocker with his name on it, and a bike with his name on it. So Sal, Paul, Mike, Chip, honestly, many others, thank you. Thank you. And ultimately, yes, I believe in that there is a man by the name of Jesus Christ. Providentially, he's done it all.
Man, That right there really just, solidifies everything, right? You tell your story of what it took and what you gave, selflessly to do that. And like I said, I commend you on that. I've commend, your success, and we shoot ideas off of each other, and we've only met a couple of months ago. So it's awesome to see, more people like yourself getting into it and continuing to grow in the sport. I wish you the best in anything that you decide to do. I'm going to support it, and I thank you for the support that you've given us a chance to get on. You're going to be our first live guest here with the video on Outlaw Performance ENT in the Groove podcast, episode number 111. Getting up there, but we want to thank you. If there's anything that, we can ever do with you, help you out with anything, you know how to contact us. So is there any going words that you would like to tell anyone out there that has watched this long crazy of us rambling about motorsports?
Well, Sam, look, thank you. Anytime that we can collaborate on anything, let me know, and definitely look forward to seeing what you have in store. But to anyone watching, since I got the screen right here, right now, all I've got to say in closing is God bless and keep the pedal to the metal.
All right, there it is. The Monday Morning Racer here on In the Groove podcast. Was definitely awesome to have him on. Man of faith, a man who loves motorsports just like we do. So, I mean, it's truly awesome to see. I can't thank him enough for coming on and being on board with us. But as always, we always tell you guys, continue to smash that loud pedal. If you haven't already, please go and check him out. That is the Monday Morning Racer. He is on Facebook, he's on Instagram, and he is on YouTube. Go out and check out some of his work that he's doing. Strut Masters, go and check them out. Again, raise energy to all of our sponsors that continually fuel the fire for us to be able to do In the Groove podcast. We cannot thank you guys enough for coming and being a part of this team here at Outlaw Performance ENT and In the Groove podcast. This has been another episode of In the Groove podcast, brought to you by Mabro Motorsports, LS Tech and Mexican Food, and the good folks over at Outlaw Performance ENT. If you haven't done already, please go over and check out all of our social medias. Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, all under outlawperformance.ent. Till next time, you guys keep smashing that loud pedal.